man. All right, and we're back with another episode of the Writers Guild podcast. We got a special episode today. We've got a special guest, Noah Westman-Barth, who is a fellow writer. Today we're gonna ask Noah some questions about his life, his writing. Really good stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and lead in with the first question, keeping it pretty simple, kind of leaning on the themes or the subjects that you wanted to tap into. The first question is, what got you into writing and when? I would love to hear that story.
Okay. I think there were two different sides, I think, what got me into writing. Early, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I remember my mother read the three Lord of the Rings books to me and my brother. And at the end of each book, we got to watch the movies. And of course, at that age, it was still hard for me to pay attention to such a long book, especially very long and drawn out, right? So I got more at the time from the movies, but between the two of those things, it really showed me oh wow, somebody, one person was able to just create all of this fantasy world. And so that kind of exposed me to that concept of, hey, it's possible for someone to go and make up all of this cool stuff. So I think that's what really made me fall in love with Lord of the Rings, for sure. Still one of my favorites. And it got me thinking creatively too. That kind of sparked my creativity as a child. And the other thing that I know you and me enjoyed quite a bit together was Stargate. Stargate
Oh,
SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis, these two TV shows from back on the Sci-Fi Channel when it was airing every Friday night. That was the first story that, I don't know, Lord of the Rings was enormous, so I loved it. And Stargate was a little bit more okay, it's easier to latch on to. So that was kind of my jumping pad when I just started writing little stories on paper in third grade or something. I would kind of that was my inspiration at the time. So that's when it started. Obviously, it's grown a lot from there. Other follow-up questions on that point, or does that answer your question?
yeah, I would like to ask. So, a story kind of at its base elements needs characters and a plot. And do you happen to remember the first story that you ever constructed that had a full plot and characters in it? Like the first story you ever actually wrote?
Oh, good question.
Yeah. Um, okay, so I feel unless this is just me, but there's no way it's just me, right? So I feel like writers will have varying degrees of qualifying. This was the first thing I wrote. So you have assuming you started as a young kid, you have oh, you remember that thing, but now as an adult, you're yeah, we don't talk about that because that was a
I
rambling
understand that.
8-year-old with a pen and a few pieces of paper. So I had something that was basically just me appropriating some of the concepts from Stargate and just kind of, I don't remember the story. It was, third grader on pen and paper, so it was obviously not going to be very long. But I had something like that with just going through portals, exploring different worlds, things like that. Very much reminiscent of Stargate. If I don't know, Kasen, if you know Stargate, I think I saw you nodding your head to it.
Yeah, yeah, this is quite the throwback for me. I mean, it's got to be like 15,
Yeah.
20 years ago. I grew up in Ukraine, so it was a little different with the TV scene, but I remember
Okay.
watching clips of Stargate, and I'm pretty sure a friend of mine had how they used to have the DVD collections, you get that stack. It was like
Yeah.
an album.
That box art, though.
So,
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had all
yes.
the Atlantis
Look,
seasons on DVD, I think. But so
So
yeah,
is that
was
where your love for sci-fi came from then? Is like that those early Stargate seasons and episodes? Because we've read Belton and I, for
definitely
context for the audience, we've read some excerpts from your book,
okay.
and it's
Yes,
sci-fi.
this is true. Yes.
Yeah. So that was definitely on the sci-fi side. I kind of have like my sci-fi side and fantasy side, and I don't know actually if either of you guys have ever read any of read any excerpts from any of my fantasy stuff. I know I've talked, or yes, Belton definitely has because he's been helping give me a lot of feedback. I was thinking in terms of our writers Discord, I don't think I ever submitted any of that stuff, but might be remembering incorrectly. So on the sci-fi side, definitely started with Stargate, and then I had various other like space travel ideas, going to the center of the galaxy, going to alien worlds, um, and I think the first thing, though, to answer your question a little bit better, the first long, like novel length project that I ever actually finished, um, it was called the Gossi Treaty, and it was basically like it was me having fun with like making my own version of Red Dawn. If either of you guys know
Ooh,
that movie,
strong.
there
Hmm.
there's an old one and a new one. But so in that one, I had a lot of fun with that. Obviously, that is a modern setting, foreign invasion on U.S. soil, and it's just the story of, a character writing in first person. Like I really put myself into that story, and some of his friends in the middle of this, and they just figured it out as they went along. And I had a lot of fun with Apple Maps exploring the real world and seeing, oh, there's a little gas station here. They can go there. So I
Oh,
did. That was my
Oh,
world
that's
building.
awesome.
yeah, that's good.
It was a lot of fun.
That's a good idea. Like just using Google Earth or something,
Yeah,
mapping it out.
that's a really smart world building technique. Yeah, if you got it based in real life. I want to kind of like circle
Yeah.
back, Noah, because like one question popped into my mind. Uh, Kasen was asking you about Stargate. Dude, in what ways, when it comes to your sci-fi writing, in what ways has Stargate continued to inspire you? And what other sci-fis have inspired you? So I'm kind of keeping the question focused on sci-fi for the time being, I guess. But yeah, I'd love to
Sure.
hear what has continued to influence you and give you ideas to this day with that genre.
Yeah. Yeah. One enormous influence that it would be very unjust if I did not mention is the TV show named Intelligence. I am sure I have mentioned it to
Oh
Belton
yeah, you
before.
have, yeah.
Nobody's heard of it because I think it was 2013 and or 14, somewhere around there. And it only ran for one season, had 13 episodes, but I will die on the hill of it was a great show and the actors had chemistry. There was witty dialogue
Mm.
and writing, and they had an interesting concept that was new-ish at the time still of having a computer chip implanted into the brain. And of course, now in 2025, that is not a new idea anymore, like at all. It's everywhere now.
It's the future.
But that was
Hmm.
like that was my first exposure to that idea, and I thought that was really awesome. And I was disappointed that I didn't get to see more of the TV show and like explore the concept. The one thing that I like to do to this is still expounding on how that show inspired me. I really like, especially since that show, to take an idea like, okay, what if there's a computer chip in a person's brain and explore all the way. Like, what are the full ramifications of that concept? I don't
Mm.
just want to make it like a little plot device, kind of, that, like, oh, it gives him X, Y, and Z abilities, and we stop there. Like, I wanted to see it continuously developing. How far can we take this idea? So that is what inspired me to start writing what you guys have read, excerpts of Synthetic Nature. that is my most difficult, probably, project that I have. I have 5 books planned for it, and I can talk about it some more later. But that's where I really take that concept and a couple other things in a melting pot, and I go all out with it. I really want to see how far I can take that idea and what I can do with it.
Sick. That's the right attitude with writing.
You know what I hate too is that seems to happen a lot with sci-fi shows. I mean, Firefly. You guys know Firefly?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Nathan Fillion fan, so yeah, I do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one season they did not give that show enough of a shot, so I think they should bring
At
it
least
back.
they got a movie.
Well,
We're
what?
just waiting for
Really?
Community to get a movie. Yeah.
Serenity?
What's
You
the
don't know
movie
about the
called?
movie?
Serenity. Is it called Serenity? Am I remembering correctly?
Serenity.
Yeah.
I want to make sure
I'm
because
gonna check it out.
oh, dude, Noah, just now I felt a lightning bolt kind of flash through my mind. You said the name of your sci-fi, Synthetic Nature. The last episode, Case and I were talking about bad adaptations on like Disney Plus or Netflix. And there's this one movie that the Russo brothers directed that's the biggest bomb in Hollywood history. I couldn't remember the name of it, and I thought it was Synthetic Nature. And I want to issue an apology to you. I know you're going to listen to the episode, so I just want you to know that was not reflective of your work at all. No, I just wanted to apologize. I want to get that out. Just get that out now.
That's so funny because I thought it sounded familiar.
Yeah, I
and
know,
was
right?
Synthetic Nature, like, okay.
It just
Oh, that
I was
explains
like,
it.
oh, I did him dirty, and I didn't remember correctly. Anyway, okay, I'll ping pong it back to you, Kasen, with whatever question you got to follow up.
Yeah, sure. So one thing I was gonna say too, just with the Apple Maps, I love that type of ingenuity.
Yeah,
And as I'm, more and more using AI to answer questions like, by the way, obviously that's a hot topic in writing, but as I use AI to answer questions like, hey, what were walls made out of in 16th century Europe? Or
Right.
how did the latrines work? It's pretty good at those kinds of things, right? So it's a lot easier to research.
Yeah, it's a
but
good research tool, yeah.
It's a good research tool. Stop there, draw the red line. So one of the things that, I've been like using it for though is like topography and like landscape and just better understanding, like doing more research. And a writer that I look up to a lot is Louis L'Amour. And something I loved about him is that he actually went out and rode these paths that he writes about in his books. He's a Western writer. And so he'd have these characters like the Sackett brothers and other Westerns where you'd have gunslingers out in the West. And he wrote a whole slew of books. It's actually really amazing because it kind of spans the entire U.S. history. And a lot of the trails mentioned in those books, I read his full autobiography as well, but they were actual trails that he had been down and like walked upon. And obviously not all of us can go out west and hike along the trails, but I think there's something to doing things the boots on the ground, like the hard way, and really like, I mean, another friend of ours, she's going around, she's interviewing locals in Appalachia because that's kind of what her book's going to be based off of. Yeah, I love stuff like that. I love kind of the grit of the writer. Can you talk a little bit about, I mean, so that's an awesome example of just like being in Apple Maps, poking around and stuff. What's something that's kind of kept you, I mean, we all do it for the love of the game, but can you talk about a period of life, because I'm sure you've had it, where writing just faded to the background and maybe it was tough to kind of get back into, or you were feeling uninspired and just had to touch feet to grass type of thing. So I'd just be really curious to hear more about that.
Yeah. So definitely. And I mean, I think both of you guys will be able to relate to this a little bit, because we're all round about the same age, I believe. But so in college, of course, it's going to be very typical. That's like prime productivity era of your life a little bit in certain ways, because that's when, I was a bachelor. All I had to worry about was school. I lived on campus and I just had to walk over to the cafeteria. Like I had it pretty easy. So that was a time in my life when I was able to.
Where'd you go to college real quick?
Charleston Southern.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
You're talking to a buck? Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
That's go Bucks. All right. Sorry.
That's actually how I
Continue.
reconnected
That's
with
amazing.
Noah.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Oh
All
yeah.
right.
Tell that story later. But so that was like I was so productive then. I was like setting my personal records as far as productivity goes, writing 5 to 10,000 words a day in the month of April.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you can
Noah was a
imagine I
beast.
have that looming over me, and then I get out of college, I, start dating, get married, get a house, get kids. So, all that
Mm.
productivity kind of went out the window for a while. Uh, as far as writing went, um, that was definitely a time of my life when it's been slow. And since then, I've had a couple times, like, I'm a teacher, so I have summer when I get to have a lot of time, and I'm very
Mm.
grateful for that. So my first summer after I started teaching, I got a lot of time, and that's when I wrote the last book that I wrote. Um, but for the most part, it's the demands of having kids, keeping up with a
Mm-hmm.
full-time job, have
Mm.
family and 4 pets and housework and stuff. So it kind of priorities goes back a little bit. So that's definitely that. I am a little confused about, like, are you saying that the boots on the ground thing is a way to get back into the writing, or what did you mean by that part?
Yeah. I guess that was kind of what I was trying to get at is touching feet to grass, because like if you're feeling uninspired, it helps if you revisit, whether physically or metaphorically, if you're picking up like the Wheel of Time series or somewhere that at some point had a little spark of something for you, like Belton was
Yeah.
talking about. We were chatting through on our last episode or future well, all right, spoiler alert. But like just trying to find like that spark of what got you to put pen to paper in the first place is kind of where I was going with that.
Okay. They're kind of just
So
revisiting. Yeah. Yeah. So I think one of the things, like, one thing was that I rewatched Intelligence that really
mhm.
kickstarted Synthetic Nature. And then, of course, there are other movies that come along. Like, I know one was Upgrade, that I don't think it was a real big movie or anything. But I saw that and I finally got the chance to watch it at home. And I was like, I literally, like, my wife, like, either came downstairs or came home, whatever. When she got back, I was like, babe, they stole my story, because it was so much overlap.
Oh yeah.
Things like that gave me a kick in the rear to, like, go out and finish writing your thing so that you can publish it and not seem like a copycat.
Mm.
Even though I've had this idea for a decade now. So that is one big thing that helps. Another big thing, I get a lot of inspiration from, like, reading C.S. Lewis stuff. He's by far, like, him and Tolkien are up there as my two, like, role models for writing. So that's another thing that always gives me some good inspiration. Like, hey, go out there. This is what you can do with it. But as far as, like, getting out into the world, this was a while ago. But in terms of, like, really boots on the ground, I did get a chance to take a family vacation back when I was living at home still, um, over to this one cabin near Asheville, North Carolina, where I have, like, some scenes from a couple of my books take place. So going
Mm.
and seeing that in person, that was a
Mm.
really nice experience. So it was a long time ago, but that, like, I understand the whole boots on the ground feeling because of that. It feels amazing because I found this place in, like, an online cabin rental listing, and I looked at the pictures of it, kind of pieced it together in my head as to what it would look like so I could write about it. And then I got the chance to go to it later, and I could see, like, this is exactly how I pictured it. So that was an incredible experience.
That's amazing. I've thought it'd be really cool to do like a writer's retreat because I think there's a lot of inspiration to be had from nature, like even just being in the mountains. Maybe you're not necessarily writing about that specific spot, but you can look around and marvel at the beauty and just kind of just feel the flow a little bit. So I love that, man. Kind of the same reason, like, a lot of times when we're out in nature, I mean, Belton and I, we're both Christians. It's like when you're out in nature, you can start to feel like presence and just feel a little bit closer to God, just because there's kind of this realization that the world's a really big place. It's got a lot of intricacy and beauty to it.
It's
So
alive, yeah, man.
love that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you could stare at a drywall all day and just be bored to tears, but I could look at a tree and just watch the shimmering of the leaves as the wind passes by, and I mean, that's mesmerizing. I could look at that all day. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, touch grass, man.
Touch grass.
Yeah. Okay. I had like a really cool question for you, Noah, that was going to make you go, "Whoa, that's such a good question," and then you're going to like go into this really long dissertation, and it was going to be really good. And then I forgot the question because I was listening to what you were saying.
No.
Sometimes when I like, I'm actually an active listener, it like clears out my cache. My RAM just gets
Clear
empty.
cookies.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with something else I don't think is quite as good, but it's kicking the ball along for This is another question. I can always edit the episode. No one has to know that I have stupid moments.
No.
I'm in charge.
Leave this
here.
in. This is great. This is the meat and potatoes.
This is the meat and potatoes. Okay, Noah. Okay, how would
That's good
you
stuff.
evaluate your own writing style? Right. I would say like my personal take on the definition of a writer someone's writing style is the culmination of their strengths and weaknesses. What in your own estimate are you really good at capturing on the page, and what do you have to shy away from as a consequence of it being like a weakness? I'm very curious to know about that.
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good question. I think so. I and you. Well, this is very telling of me because I'm a high school English teacher. So that's going to influence a lot of what I read and what I enjoy reading too. So, yes, I am the guy that right now is reading the Canterbury Tales with my spare time. But now,
I respect it.
so I do read some more modern things, but to me, and I texted you this the other night, I said, like, it is very freeing to me to be able to pick up something that is centuries old that people are still reading. It kind of does the sifting for me. So because of that, that is going to heavily like come out in my writing style.
Yeah.
I'll like hear the audiobooks that my wife listens to, or I'll hear about like a lot of the things that you guys talk about. Frequently, I won't have even read them. But a lot of modern style, compared to mine, modern style is very much more descriptive of all the minute details. And something that I have always enjoyed as both a reader and a writer is giving the important details, the ones that have significance to like symbolism or like this is strong characterization. But if it's the shape of the guy's cheekbones, like let the reader kind of use a little imagination.
Yeah.
You can, in my opinion at least, I'm not saying like this is a rule or anything, but in my opinion, using some descriptions, like just saying like, hey, this is a beautiful woman, or better wording than that, or this is a very strong man or an intelligent person, things like that. The reader's going to have some ideas of how to fill that in. So I like to give the reader a little more license with the minutia like that. So I think that's a strength. That will definitely be a weakness to some readers that really like having a lot of details. Like I know, Belton, you really enjoy going very deep into the description. And so, yeah, that is my descriptive style. It's definitely not for everyone. I definitely got knocked for it by some of my professors in creative writing classes at CSU. And I've gotten critiqued from you guys, and I definitely take those critiques, and like I've learned to incorporate more where I need to. And so that is one thing. Another
can I ask a
strength.
follow, or I'll put a pin in it, but I do have a follow-up question to that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. See, I have notes on like writing style. So you wanted strengths and weaknesses. I think one of my strengths I mentioned before is that I really enjoy exploring a concept. So I don't just, stick the concept in, let it have this much wiggle room, and then just have the story around it.
That's good.
I like, if there's a concept like synthetic nature, computer chip in the brain sort of idea, I'm going to let that take over the story and drive the story for as long as it's necessary. And there are other things that go into that series, but that is a very, very heavy part of it. And so I think that would be a good, like, hey, I'm kind of giving it free reign. I'm not just kind of doing a normal story with one unique addition to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, dude. Before you dive in with your question, real quick, Kasen, I just wanted to follow up on that, Noah, because I related to that. You mentioned like professors kind of like giving you a bit of a hard time on your preferred kind of like more minimalist approach with descriptions. And I totally relate to that, dude, right? Like everyone, I think when you're first starting to write, a big part is just finding polish, and someone might see that lack of polish and not necessarily criticize the lack of polish, but criticize the kind of strategies you have in your writing that make it unique, not knowing its potential. And I relate to that because like back in college, I remember being in a creative writing class as well. And one thing I really like that I learned from Michael Crichton was write in third person, but do it with a slight tilt toward the character whom that chapter's focused on. And you have to be very deliberate about it. You have to be very organized to avoid chaos. Otherwise, it would feel like the third person writing is like all over the place, and it could be very messy. But if you do it right, I think it can really imbue a lot of personality and energy into the writing. But I remember like a fellow student kind of criticizing that because their reasoning was, it's third person, it's supposed to be objective. Why? And these aren't italicized words. These aren't the thoughts of the characters. So why do they have their biases in it? But that's a style I like. That's something you can do. You just have to be deliberate and strategic about it, and then you can find your potential, and that's great. Anyway, I just wanted to add to that. What you got, Casey?
Yeah. Just my follow-up was around, I hear what you're saying. I guess my question would be, how do you avoid the pitfall of telling, not showing? Because that's been a big theme on our show is like, hey, show, don't tell. And if you're saying, oh, she's beautiful versus her high cheekbones accentuate her full lips or whatever, like people kind of get the idea. So I'd just be curious, like your strategies for sort of still conveying and not just telling.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think there's a reason that Belton sent me that episode in particular, because we're not.
It was just the latest episode, I promise. I swear.
Belton?
Personal.
Hey, wait, real quick. Don't feel bad. He sent me a YouTube video about why podcasts fail. So the top 5 reasons podcasts fail. So he's just keeping us accountable, brother.
I just thought I had good ideas in it. Look, guys, this is what it looks like. I gotta
go. Yeah. So no. So yeah, me and Belton are not on opposite sides of the coin. I just have, like I said, I have a different style behind my description, like a different aim, I guess. I am not trying to paint to show like this is why I step back a little bit from all show. I don't want to try to paint a complete like top to bottom 360 degrees picture for you to have in your head, because I want your imagination to fill in what it needs to while I give you what I need you to know. So if I need you to know, like, hey, this person's like, they have strong eyebrows or something, to pick something random, or like, I love the descriptions that Tolkien uses in
Mm-hmm.
Rivendell when Frodo is meeting like Elrond and Glorfindel and Arwen, like these ancient elves. It's like one of them has like wisdom on his brow and strength in his hand, like, and these are more like romantic style descriptions, right? Like that's more what you might hear if you're reading about like King Arthur and his knights. It'll give you like
Oh, yeah.
more broad descriptions, might be a decent way to phrase it. Because I don't need you to maintain this mental image of exactly what this person's face looks like for you to
Mm-hmm.
keep up with my story. I want you to like, maybe I'm trying to convey that like, okay, the princess is really beautiful, or this knight in shining armor is really kind, or whatever. So I want you to like, maybe the things that you find beautiful are a little different than me. And if I gave you my definition, you would think, oh, well, that's not really that pretty, or that guy's not really that nice, or whatever. So I'm trying to leave a little bit of room for subjectivity behind it when it's necessary.
Okay, I actually really love that. I'm kind of a fantasy purist in the sense where it's like Tolkien or whoever it is. Like I love the heavy descriptions, but I think that's turned into fluff in a lot of stories and a lot of filler. And I get so annoyed. And there's so many fantasy books these days that I pick up and I'm reading, and I just start skipping pages because it's just useless drivel. I mean, I'm not going to say his name, but actually, I'm going to say his name. I mean, Brandon Sanderson has this problem where he will describe every single element, deconstruct down to the smallest molecule. And I'm just like, bro, like, I don't need to know all this. So, sorry, I'm slogging through book 4 still.
Oh.
It's been 3 years. But
Yeah.
Dude, I've done that. I read the Mistborn, the first Mistborn book. And anytime, okay, keep in mind, since this is on the record,
it is on the
love
record.
Brandon
This is all
Sanderson
recorded.
as a person,
Yes.
and I love his books. However, I've read millions of words worth of his writing, and I just happen to be aware of some shortcomings. That's it. That's all there is to it. No hate. That being said,
Blasphemy.
yeah, exactly. That being said, in Mistborn especially,
know.
I distinctly remember anytime an action scene came up, of which there was a lot, just way too many action scenes, I would just skip them. It's like, when I get to the end, I know what matters.
Oh, see, I
mean,
love
if
a
he
good action
dies,
scene.
I'll know
but,
at the end, because that's when the fight's over. It's two people fighting each other. I'll know when it's over. I'll know when it matters. I don't know. The fight scenes were just. It's kind of like a lightsaber duel in the Star Wars prequels versus a lightsaber duel in the original trilogy. Like when you look at Vader versus Luke in Return of the Jedi, it's a very captivating fight because there's emotional stakes involved. It's father versus son. The son trying to win his father to the light side of the Force, and vice versa. And I find that very engaging. Whereas in the prequels, the fights look awesome, but there's no emotional substance. Anyway, I just wanted to get
blasphemy! Blasphemy!
Kasen. Oh, we got another episode idea. But anyway.
Oh, all right, let's do it. Noah, we'll keep this episode about
no,
you.
get off the call. Kasen and I have some stuff to work through. Okay, who asked the last question? Am I asking the next one?
I asked. Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't matter. We can, if you have one, shoot from the hip.
Okay.
Okay,
right, so
do it.
Noah, how would you say, like, okay, so I can say that I'm going to do the thing that annoys me when interviewers like talk about themselves before finally getting to the question, but I'm doing it. You can't stop me. But anyway,
context.
Yes. So, okay, right. When I got into writing first, I like did homework on all the different styles of writing, different parameters, not just like first person and third person, but also like, how close to the action do you get? Are you inside the character's head or not? And I forget all the terms. There's all sorts of like very specific terms for this sort of stuff. And I wrote down like a list. I could probably find the note to this day. And I found over time, this isn't actually what I can write. I can't really do that. Like initially, I wanted to live and die by show, don't tell. Like I wasn't gonna give character thoughts or anything like that. I was just gonna let the reader infer how a character was feeling by the way their face looked and stuff like that, and how they worded and the subtext therein. And I very quickly found that's a very hard writing style, and I found that wasn't really my style, because I actually really enjoy kind of doing a stream of conscience kind of thing. And I know that's not the right term, but you know what I mean. Kind of like blending characters' thoughts with their perception of the environment and how they see everything that's happening around them. That's kind of ultimately how my writing style evolved, but that wasn't my original intent. What kind of journey did you go through with that?
Yeah. So at first, again, with that thing that I wrote like back in third grade, I'm pretty sure if I remember right, it was in third person, but that was such a shallow form of writing at that point that I can't really say I had any style behind it. I was basically just writing it as I would verbally say it. I wasn't thinking too much about like phrasing it or how to approach it. So I can say like my first novel length thing, the Gauzy Treaty that I ever did, that was in first person because I really enjoyed the just kind of having fun with it. It was almost just like, enjoying a hypothetical scenario, having some fun with it, like following a daydream and just kind of writing it down as I went.
Yeah.
So started with first person, and as you guys have seen, now I've gotten to Synthetic Nature is in first person. Obviously, the style has developed. I've written a lot over the years, so I've kind of gotten into my this is how I enjoy writing this story. But then when I go into fantasy stuff, I really like doing third person because I have that in more of a romantic style. So now, as far as doing homework goes and all that, there was never a point where I sat down and was like, I want to look at a list of all the different ways, and then I'm going to choose the most appropriate one. That makes a lot of sense with you because you are very, very analytical, Belton, about things. And with me, I've done it more organically, like just kind of feeling out and thinking. I've definitely considered what is the best method of writing this, like Synthetic Nature, because back with different writers guild sessions, I got different suggestions of hey, have you thought about trying third person for it? But then other people said first person seemed to work. And for that one, because there's such a heavy psychological element with the kid with a computer chip in his brain, I'm keeping it first person so that I can really lean into the effect of that. But again, when I go over to fantasy stuff, romantic style, third person, and then I have another sci-fi trilogy planned. That one's going to be in third person, but obviously not romance fantasy style sort of thing. And when I say romantic, I should have clarified from the start. I mean in the traditional medieval romance sense, not in the modern day the Notebook romance. Hopefully that came across already, but just to clarify.
So,
neither of us thought you were writing smut or anything. So.
Yeah. So the main character has romance on his brow, and
And
you're not going to describe her being beautiful, but you're just going to say has a noble countenance or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. But his style, he would say she's beautiful, and we would infer there's a noble countenance.
We would infer high cheekbones,
no. The noble
Kim
countenance,
Kardashian,
definitely.
swollen bee-stung lips, the works.
Wow.
Also, guys, just a quick warning. A little notification came up. Kasen, I think the next episodes, from here on out, we're just going to have to switch to Discord again. Teams will only let us have this call for 60 minutes. We're at 53. Apparently, to use it for free, you're only allowed 60 minutes. So just a heads up, guys. We got 7 minutes left. And in the future, we'll just use Discord in the future, Kasen, because it's honestly kind of funny since we were debating about how long to have the episodes in general. There's the limit that Teams suggested, but anyway, that was it. So
Well, maybe this will be the way we kind of wrap this up. But Noah, could you speak to, so we had been texting a little bit, and I feel like you've kind of touched on this, but specifically if you want to address the uniqueness of writing and genres, you're bouncing between fantasy and sci-fi. I don't know how you keep those compartmentalized in your head. Yeah, just like what all, because that was a topic you wanted to talk about. So feel free, like, here's the lob. Sorry, that was more of a football pass, but here's the lob, and feel free to slam dunk that. Like, what are your thoughts in general?
Yeah. So yes, I definitely have two sides, a fantasy and sci-fi, and there's a whole, like, I recently read through a lot of the essays in C.S. Lewis's On Stories collection of essays, and one of those was on sci-fi, and he gives kind of his own definitions of different genres within sci-fi. So I wrote those all out, but definitely not time to get into that right now. I'll just say I've explained the fantasy side enough. Synthetic nature is sci-fi, but it is very much not like Star Trek kind of thing. The sci-fi that I have always enjoyed is more like the Stargate idea of modern humanity. It gets beset by some sci-fi like alien race or space travel, whatever. So it's kind of a mashup. It's where it feels more like, oh yeah, this is us. Like, they have ballistic weapons. They have, ships that kind of look like our jets. That's what I really like. So synthetic nature takes place in modern day, but with some sci-fi stuff added into it. Then genre-wise, the full sci-fi trilogy that I have planned, that if either of you guys have read Lewis's space trilogy, it's very, very... Have you? You're very thoughtful.
Actually,
yes. Yeah.
A fellow student at CSU for their senior project did a play adaptation of that first book from that C.S. Lewis sci-fi series. I forget the name of the books. Obviously, because you've read them. I played an evil shark alien thing. It was fun.
Nice.
Along with some smug, cocky
I've read,
servant to the queen at the end.
Paralandra was the one I read a long time ago.
Okay. Yeah. So I really loved, it was a little shell shock because it's very different than modern sci-fi, but I love it because it has so much theological depth. Like, as a Christian too, it is very explicitly Christian science fiction. So my sci-fi trilogy is really, I'll call it a mashup between that and a lot of Kurzgesagt videos from YouTube of how would we build a space elevator, or this, or colonize Mars, or different things like that. I went on a binge watching a lot of their space videos at one point. I was like, these are really cool concepts that I want to explore and see what I can do with them. So I go ham on that. But as far as style, because that's definitely one thing I can talk briefly about.
You got less than
one of the
minutes.
things that I've Okay. One of the things that I really enjoy doing with style, a smaller thing, is I love putting Easter eggs in some way, hiding little things within the story, whether it's, oh, this character always has this way of saying all right instead of okay whenever they say that. Surface level things like that, or the way that I make the little paragraph breaks, if I use these symbols in there. I have a lot of fun with that. But one big thing that is really taking over my writing lately is this idea of creating an atmosphere of your book, so that it's never directly stated in the book, but you come away having this oh, that book feels very much like this. It's very earthy, or it's very outer spacey, something like that. That's another whole concept I could go into detail about at another time that I'd love to chat about. But that is something with the fantasy novel that I wrote, and I'm now in the process of like revision, editing wise. That one, I'm really leaning into that, trying to create this atmosphere of it's not going to be at all like Game of Thrones style. It's going to be much more feels grounded, but also feels noble. And there isn't like
that.
a whole lot of back.
We need that.
That's good.
But I'll wrap
I
up.
hate to cut you off, but we got less than a minute.
Oh, man.
Mr. Westman-Barth, it's been so good to have you on the show. You have been a great guest. Thank you. Thank you. The Writers Guild podcast would like you to thank you for not cussing us out or calling us stupid and stinky or something like that. I'm trying to be funny. It's not working.
My audio issues.
For the slander, though.
Okay. I would like to apologize for the time limitation, the unforeseen time limitation that was imposed by the free version of Teams. Kasen, since we're just having you capture your footage natively and me the same, we're just going to use Discord in the future. I'm more than happy to delete Teams from my computer. Anyway, but that's it, folks. It's been good. The episode, clever, witty sign off. I don't know.